Welcome, everybody.
Hey, hey.
Work smarter where you want.
This is learning at its most fun.
Good morning, good afternoon to some, wherever you're joining us from. We're so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us for another Best Practice Partner webinar. Today, I've invited my friend Mac from SmartRIA to talk a little bit about simplifying compliance. We're going to take a deep dive into SmartRIA and see what it can offer us to help us simplify our compliance workflows. So, Mac, are you there?
I am.
Awesome. Good afternoon. I know you're joining us from the East Coast. So I'd just like to get this webinar started with a little bit of get to know you questions. So this is a question that I ask all of our partners is tell us an interesting, fun fact about yourself.
My mom is a professional musician. I've been a musician pretty much my entire life. And I have opened up as a musician for some famous acts, like the Indigo Girls.
Wow.
Of course, that's famous to my generation, might not be famous to all generations, but yeah.
Awesome, Mac. Well, you also know how to rock compliance as well. Partner of SmartRIA. So can you tell us a little bit about your company and how it came to be?
Sure. So SmartRIA started out as a internal solution for a state-registered RIA in Tennessee. The founder of that firm wanted to have software to help manage operations and paid someone to build that for him. And after it was completed, spun it out into its own business, which became SmartRIA. I came in as the second founder of the company in October of 2015, and we launched to the industry in late 2016 with a mission really to simplify compliance and with an internal mandate to solve as many compliance problems in a single platform as possible, and to continually work on ease of use and good customer experience within the platform, so that we're not just solving problems, we're making it easier to solve problems as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know that SmartRIA can solve lots of problems, but if you could summarize it, how would you say that your product saves an advisor either time or money?
Sure. So I can give multiple anecdotal examples, but for example, an SEC registered firm that uses our platform, audited by the SEC prior to using SmartRIA, and it took them weeks to put everything together for the exam. They were audited again after using SmartRIA for a little bit over a year, and their preparation for the exam took minutes. And it's because the platform is specifically built for capturing all of the compliance workflows that are necessary to manage the company. And so, saving time and money is what the platform is built for.
Wow, preparing for an audit in minutes. I think you've definitely captured our attention. So I was hoping that maybe you might be able to give us a demo of what SmartRIA looks like and how to use it.
Absolutely, I would be happy to. So as I said, SmartRIA is really geared towards simplifying compliance. And so everything that we do is intentionally trying to solve a problem and make it easier to get that problem accomplished. So we start with the dashboard of SmartRIA, which is focused on some of the basics. First of all, your personal compliance calendar tasks that have been assigned to you. This is a demo account, of course, but you can see tasks that are overdue on your personal compliance calendar. You can see the due date and what's coming up. And as you are going through your list of items, you can just click on those. It's going to explain basically what's involved, and then you can go into the specific task involved and answer the questions. We have a built-in file storage system, so you can drag and drop files that are appropriate to any compliance form into that form, and that remains locked together so that when you're reporting for audit purposes, anything that you uploaded to a form is there with it. We also have a built-in digital signature system so that your signature on any compliance form in SmartRIA is usable in any attestation purpose. So that's the compliance calendar. One other thing to mention here is everything in SmartRIA is fully customizable. So we give you a series of compliance calendar tasks and forms to get you started, and some other things to get you started. But you can make your own versions of those tasks and forms. You can make your own, et cetera. And I'll show you in just a little bit how that works. Next up, we have the Compliance Action Items Center. And the action items basically are our attempt to pull everything together that you need to get done to help maintain your firm's compliance. And so, this is a CCO role I'm showing you. And so the CCO has oversight queue. Obviously an advisor, an access person is not necessarily going to have an oversight queue. So these items would not be showing. And in general, that's our approach. You can see there are a lot of zeroed out items, and by default, those don't show. And it's because, again, we want to keep this as simple and straightforward as possible. So whatever you need to do to get compliance done, that's what's showing in your action items block here. And I'll just click on one of these to show what that looks like. So this is an alerts report, and compliance alerts can be any number of different things. We can see a few of those here. So for example, no annual review. We have client data in SmartRIA, which can be pulled in from Redtail. And I'll show you that in just a moment. But as you build your households in SmartRIA, you can do things like track annual reviews for those clients, and you can see the history around any alert that has come up for a client without an annual review. Why is there no review? What was the discussion about that, et cetera. And lastly, from the dashboard, we have the quick access forms. So these are contextual compliance workflows that are not necessarily going to be scheduled on your personal compliance calendar, but you need to be able to access these workflows for your firm. So for example, someone can submit an advertisement for review, or log a client complaint or a gift, et cetera. And just as I mentioned that you have control over your tasks and forms, you also have control over the quick access forms. And again, I'll show you that in just a moment. Last thing to show you on the dashboard, just really quickly, we have a customer service module built in, and you can both search our knowledge base here. You can also ask questions of our team. And as this says, we typically reply within a few minutes during business hours. So we are actively working to keep our customers in the know in terms of anything that they don't understand about the software. And we really do care about your experience and you being able to understand how that works. So just moving from left to right, I'm going to jump over to file storage. So the company-wide file storage, which is what we're in, is viewable by everyone in your firm. The reason this is viewable by everyone is because these are things that by their nature, everyone needs to have access to. So for example, your code of ethics, your compliance manual, other templates that your company uses for operational purposes. Now, everything in SmartRIA is permissions based. So based on the role that you have, affects what you can do in a given situation in the company, in the software that is. So in this case, company-wide files are controllable by anyone on the compliance team. For everyone else, they're read-only. And the reason we did that is to help you to maintain a place for everything and everything in its place. You don't want people who aren't doing operations or compliance management changing the file storage structure or anything like that. And just as I mentioned with the compliance calendar tasks and forms and the quick access forms, you have control over what this is. We give you an initial format to use, but you can absolutely make this whatever you want by adding subfolders, changing the names of folders, etc. Also here, you have the ability to configure client directories, which I will show you next. So as I mentioned, you have the ability to pull client data into SmartRIA, and you do that as a user by going into settings and then to integrations. And I just went ahead and pulled this up. So this is what our integrations tab looks like under settings. And you can see I've got Redtail pulled up, and it gives you a little bit of information on that, what types of information we pull in. You enter in your credentials, that establishes a connection. We don't save your login, we just save that connection so that we're able to pull in your client data. That happens nightly. And the result can be what you see here. So let's take a look at Amanda Smart here. You can see that we've pulled in some basic information on Amanda. If there's anything compliance related that has happened for a given household, that's going to show up here and also in reports. And there's some functionality here that helps with management of companies and in operations and in terms of managing clients. So for example, if you have multiple advisors working with a given household, which of course happens a lot, you have the ability to come in and say, you know, Mac is also working with this client. You can come in and add that. Advisors, if they are the original advisor working with the client, can add others, and compliance staff can add and subtract others as well. So moving along in the client data field, we also have client files. I mentioned here that you have the ability to configure client directories. So these are the client directories. We have required documents, which is always attached to every client. And in this case, we have statements in addition to that. Now, the required documents field, let's just say that this particular item is a client document instead of a SmartRIA brochure. And let's say that it is your client contract. So now when you enter that information, you have the ability to run reports. Show me everyone who we have a client contract for, or show me everyone who we do not have a client contract for. This gives you the ability, especially if you are growing, especially if you're growing through mergers and acquisitions, to be able to keep your finger on who has complete client files and who doesn't, because of course you don't want to start charging fees before you have complete client files, but you also want to start charging fees as quickly as possible. And this system helps you to do that with a great degree of certainty. Related to that, you can also pull in custodial data into SmartRIA. And if you're doing that, you have the ability to track account required documents as well. We'll just pull in this same document here. Now that I've done that, you can see that there's a different list that's associated here. These lists of required documents are fully editable. They can be whatever your firm considers to be required documents for a household. And also, these can be customized for every custodian that you work with, or by tags for different types of clients, etc. So again, you have the ability to track which files you have on hand for different types of clients and make sure that you have all of the files on hand for a given account before you start charging fees for that account. I'll just go back to Amanda here. And then lastly, attached to every client household, we also have a client meeting form. This is something that can be completed by an admin support person who is working with a given advisor. So they can come in and enter everything. And of course, it's going to pull in other information to help you get the form completed. But here's where you're demonstrating your fiduciary responsibility is being met. And if the admin support person has helped you to complete it, the only thing they cannot do is sign for you. And so what this does is allows our platform to operate in the same way that your office operates, where admin support folks are able to help get things done. And then the advisors and the compliance team are coming in and dotting the I's and crossing the T's to make sure it's complete. And you also have the ability to see the history of all of the completed annual reviews, as well as run reports to see who has and who has not completed an annual review in a given period of time. So we have another file storage system in SmartRIA beyond client file storage and company-wide file storage. That's the management files. So these are viewable only by people with a compliance or CCO role, or a management or CCO role. And we have information in here that is specific to those individuals. So things that only they should be seeing, whether it's financials, human resources files, etc. So here under the compliance tab, I want to point out a few features that are really going to be useful to firms that want to encourage a culture of compliance, which is really critical to positive exams. Being able to demonstrate that you have a system that you're using and that everybody is using it is always something that makes auditors happy. And here's an example of the type of features that we have built in to make that happen. So here's my calendar again. This is the same thing I showed you on the dashboard. But the difference here is I'm viewing it in calendar view instead of list view. The other thing that is different is that in this view, you have the ability to export your calendar. So you can export the SmartRIA compliance calendar to your personal calendar, which makes it so that, you know, whatever tasks you have coming up for your compliance obligations, those are going to appear on your personal calendar. You click on the link in your personal calendar, log into SmartRIA and get that task done. It's taking you directly to that task. Moving along. This is your master calendar. So this is where the CCO or a compliance team member has the ability to change the compliance tasks that have been given to your firm by SmartRIA or by a consultant who you're working with through SmartRIA. So you can see it's telling you a little bit about it. Is there a form attached? If so, which one? Who is this created by? What is the recurrence? Who is it assigned to? You also have the ability to create your own and to create copies of these to be able to make changes. So let's say you don't like our annual risk assessment for some reason, you want to make a duplicate task. So I just duplicated this. I can come in and add information. I can assign a form that I've created just for this particular task, change to whom it's assigned, change the recurrence, etc. And after I've done that, I can come in and accept this change. And now it's removed from draft. It's assigned to everyone I assigned it to, and I can come in and archive the old version because I've replaced it. Anytime you change anything in SmartRIA, everything that has been completed is still there. It's still available for reporting purposes. Nothing is ever deleted in compliance data. We just make it so that, again, it's easier for you to manage so you can archive that when it's complete. And of course, if you decide you don't want to complete a change, you can just delete that. I'll just show you one more time. So this is a blank slate where you have the ability to do things like, let's say, just really quickly here, let's say I wanted to grab a copy of the Code of Ethics and send that as an attestation to all of my team members. You know, here's the 2021 Code of Ethics. Please review and attest that you've seen it. You know, it's very, very quick for you to be able to do that. And it's another example of the types of functionality that we have built in. Okay. Oh, one more thing to mention. I almost forgot. If you are a growing firm and you want to make sure that you have your initial holdings reports and all of that kind of stuff, every time someone joins your firm, we have the ability for you to base tasks and forms on user start date. So, you know, you can attach your initial holdings report here and, you know, say that you want that on day one or day 4 or whatever the case may be, so that you're automatically onboarding each person who comes in the way that is appropriate to them. And you have all of that information on file. So just as you have a really robust master calendar when you start out with SmartRIA, you also have a robust master forms library. And again, you can create a copy of any form that we offer you to be able to create your own version of it. So someone has done that here in Client Files Review. And when you are editing something in SmartRIA, you know, you have things like the normal WYSIWYG kind of capabilities. You also have the ability to drag and drop, make specific questions required if you want, as well as add other questions. So let's say that you wanted to add a date response or add document upload. You can do that directly into the forms that you're editing. And of course, you also have the ability to create your own. And this is a lot like using SurveyMonkey or any other platform like that, where you're creating your form as you go. One other thing to mention here on the forms library, I mentioned on the dashboard that we have quick access forms. So here is where you can decide what will be on your quick access forms dashboard. And you decide that by using this push pin here on the right-hand side. It's only showing up if it isn't attached to a task. You'll see this says scheduled. So it's been attached to a task. So it's not going to have a push pin for quick access. But when it does have a push pin, if it's down in red, it's attached to your dashboard. If it's green and a little bit to the side, it is not. And it's just as simple as clicking it to assign yes or no. Lastly, within the compliance main part of the compliance tab, we are pulling in the SEC newsfeed just so you have the ability, especially your compliance team members, have the ability to come in and see what the SEC is saying in terms of notices, in terms of how exams are going with some firms. And so this is useful to have in the context of your compliance platform. So in addition to the main system, which I've just documented, I do want to just mention that we have modules that are available too. And these include things like email surveillance, where you can pull in email addresses, or emails into SmartRIA and search them by flagged keywords, have automated reports that are running with a specific percentage of all emails, etc. And when you are, well, it doesn't look like we have any emails in this particular account, but yeah, we don't. So, but when you're using this, everything in SmartRIA has a contextual workflow associated with it. And when it's there, it just pops out here on the right-hand side. You can see the entire history of an email that's been flagged, etc. We also have trade monitoring, which includes an integration with, Plaid, which pulls in 10,000 plus different held away accounts, and that allows you to set different rules and do quarterly transaction reports, all that kind of good stuff that you would associate with trade monitoring. And lastly, on the module side of things, we also have a data governance application that allows you to indicate what vendors you're working with, complete your due diligence. We do some work to help with due diligence, but not all. And you also have the ability to enter your employees, who is working with which vendors, which gives you the ability to basically be able to see a 360-degree view of your risk profile. So, which vendors are we using? What types of PII do they have? And who is using those vendors? You also have the ability to enter incidents and follow those and remediate those through data governance. Last but not least, we're going to reports. And the reports dashboard is really where the rubber hits the road. And this is where the firm that I mentioned that had an SEC exam that went really quickly in terms of their preparation for it. Here's where they came to get everything. So let's say that they are asked for all of their advertising reviews across a specific date range. They can come in and grab those, and those can be for specific individuals or for the entire company. Run the report. Obviously, usually you would see more than one, but when you download a report like this as a zip file, each individual form that has been completed has the files that have been attached to that form in the same folder, so that you can literally just take that zip file and give it to the auditor, and they will have everything they need, for example, to be able to see your advertising review, including the advertisements themselves. We also have reports for clients and accounts. So here you can do things like, show me everyone who in Q1 2021 will be in danger of not having had an annual review. So you can plan ahead for that and make sure you have those reviews scheduled. As I mentioned, you have the ability to track required documents, whether that's for clients or for accounts. And you can run reports to say, show me the document status on all of the, all of the files of this particular name, or all of the files of this particular required document category, who uploaded them, who's the advisor, run the report, and you can see a complete explanation of everything that you're doing to manage complete client files. And again, the same kind of capability is available with accounts, where just as I showed you before, you have the ability to say, show me everyone who has an account without the account application. And that's going to show you which of those clients you have in that circumstance. We also have reports specifically for the archiving solution, which is starting with email. We are going to be adding in social media and other items over time. And you have reports that starting out very simply with the vendors reports. We're adding others for data governance as well. And lastly, you have the ability to search for specific files within your system. So that was a left to right run through of the platform. And I'm going to stop there to say, are there any questions?
Hi, Mac. Austin's back here. Thank you for that, by the way. It was very extensive, and I think we got a real good 360 view of SmartRIA and all of the things that it's capable of. Before we move on to questions, I just wanted to highlight a little bit about the integration functionality. So Max showed us how to set up the integration. I just wanted to highlight what exactly it does. And so what a lot of feedback that we get from our users, mutual users, is, we don't want to have to maintain 2 client bases, right? We already have the information in Redtail. Why am I also having to go and create it inside of SmartRIA? And so you have the ability to pull that contact data, just like Max showed, and to highlight what comes over, it's going to be the client's first name, last name, their date of birth, social security number or tax ID number, address, email, and phone number. And it will also link to family members as well. And then additionally, beyond that, we also have the ability to pull in their notes. So we talked a little bit about the annual review process. If we're entering those notes into Redtail, we want to also be able to access those inside SmartRIA. So you have the ability to send the notes from Redtail into SmartRIA, and that's of course going to include the date that the note was created as well. We can also pull in activities, so calendar items that we enter inside Redtail can also be pulled from Redtail into SmartRIA. And then finally, we also have account data as well. So things like account number, the current value, the account type, the date the account was added, all of this information is seamlessly pulled from Redtail into SmartRIA. So you're not tasked with having to manage 2 databases. You already have the data in one. Allow for SmartRIA to pull that information from Redtail and then manage your compliance here in SmartRIA. So just wanted to point that out for the users. I'm sure we have lots of questions. Just wanted to direct everybody's attention to either the chat or the QA. QA will take precedent over chat. So please direct your questions to QA, but we'll also look at the chat. So if you want to throw them in there, you're more than welcome to. And Mac and I will go through those questions. Mac, I actually had a couple questions to kind of get us going here. I wanted to ask you a little bit about that master form library. Can you go back to that?
Sure.
So, Yeah, the master form library. So just to be clear, this information here is available with a SmartRIA. These aren't things that you created. This is available to any user of SmartRIA, these reports here.
These forms, yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Wow, that's a big value add. Just wanted to highlight that because not only do you get access to a great software to help you manage your compliance needs, but you also get access to this valuable intellectual property that's going to save you a lot of time, not having to create all of these different forms for yourself. Of course, they're customizable, just like Max showed, but I think that this is a huge value add. So I just wanted to highlight that this is available to you if you do choose to join a subscription to SmartRIA. Let's go to the QA. I see one just popped in here. First question comes from Jacob, and he wants to know a little bit more about that email archiving. I know you mentioned that you did have email archiving, social media was to come. Can you highlight a little bit more about how your system does email archiving?
Sure. So when you are pulling in compliance data, emails from SmartRIA, you have the ability to set up specific keywords. So in your settings, you can come to company settings and edit your company. And here you have the ability to edit the keywords that you're flagging, either by removing or adding them. You also have the ability to create keyword exclusions. So a classic example here would be adding in a signature block that you don't want to set off false positives. And you have the ability, if you have decades of emails, to say, I only want to bring in the previous 2 or 3 or 5 years or whatever it is that you prefer. 5 years is what we have heard recommended, but you have the ability to add more if you wish. So those are the settings for that. And then as the emails are coming in, you have the ability to see system flagged emails, review non-compliant emails as well. And let me see, I just want to show you a completed form. So just one second. This is not email, obviously, but this is something that will give you an idea of what this looks like. So let me just run this report. Okay, so anytime an email comes in, there's specific functionality around emails, mark as non-compliant, move this up to the CCO if you're a compliance team member and it's something that the CCO is not reviewing every email under the reports, but they want to be able to be in the loop if something is non-compliant, functionality like that. And so that's the type of experience that you would have with emails, just as you have that same capability with compliance forms and things like that. And that's a high level overview of that. I do want to say, and as the CCO, I am not always 100% in the know of everything that is going on in the company, but I try to stay pretty up to date. And I do want to say, I don't think we are pulling in custodial data from Redtail at this time. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I did want to make sure to say that since that was mentioned. I believe that's something that we have spoken with you guys about, and it's certainly the type of thing that we could do through more advanced integration, but currently I don't think we're doing that. So I will look into that just to make sure, because again, sometimes additions are made that I'm not aware of, but I don't want to promise anything that is not available in this webinar.
Okay, Max, sorry about that. I was just going off of our help desk documentation. It did have it listed there. So maybe we might need to get that updated. So we'll take a look at that. Hey, Mac, if I'm a user on this webinar here and I want to know more about SmartRIA, maybe how to sign up, where should I go?
Sure. So you can go to smart-ria.com, where there are multiple places to find out more about the software. And also you can request a demo of the software there as well.
All right, awesome. Well, I think that takes us to the end of our questions today. Thank you so much for your time today, Mac, and showing us this awesome platform. Again, guys, if you want to sign up for SmartRIA or learn more about the product, visit smart-ria.com and be sure to schedule a demo.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.